Hey everyone, God or government? Those are your two options when you're talking about the basic concept of morality. Morality is not a scientific equation, right? It's not like math. It's not like gravity. It's not a hypothesis that can be tested and proven in theoretical and practical sense in the real world. Morality is a concept that humans have derived and created on our own. It's what separates us from the animal kingdom, right? Now, you can even get your pretense or your sense of morality from land-based deities, politicians, central planners, right? The authoritarians among us, or, well, because you remember, even if those that may not start out initially as authoritarians, because we're all known to be fallible. Humans are fallible and imperfect to the degree that you cannot trust and rely on human beings to be empirical and 100% clear and concise forever in that consistent model, right? So when you think about it, government, which is representative of human beings, politicians, it's a false religion, it's a false pretense of a mystical belief in an authority that has real world power and real world applicable positions of that pretense of authority to use against you or I. Whereas God, right, this being, especially the Christian God, the God that was contrived and derived from the Christian faith, that kind of God lives outside our earthly plane in a realm that is not on the planet that we currently reside on. So it's an ideal, it's a concept, and the authority, whether you're a staunch believer or not, but that authority, and no one has ever been able to prove it as such so far, does not have that actual capacity to come down and cause pain, hardships, death, or devastation, or destruction on the planet towards those who don't follow or align with that particular authority, with the particular narrative of that particular authority. So whether you're talking, if you're going to talk about, especially the moral relativists or the atheists or the postmodernists, the ones that reject religion completely, what you're saying is you want to place your faith in human beings that we all know. Every single one of us know instinctually and right down to our core that human beings are fallible. But you want to place your faith in those fallible human beings. What Christian conservatives predominantly are talking about when they talk about God is placing your faith in that entity, in that mystical being that is outside the plane that we function as humans. So even the pretense of having to suffer, if you don't follow out the orders or edicts of God, right? The only pain and suffering that you will be subjected to as a result of your non-believer status is in the hereafter, the afterlife. God is a live, let live concept. The Christian God, I should say, is a live, let live concept. You do, hey, if you want to sin through your whole life, well, hey, listen, hey, I'm not authoritarian. I won't tell you can or can't. I'll tell you can or can't. You shouldn't. But if you do, it'll only be after your life has ceased to exist on the plane, on the earth. After that, then I will send you to hell as punishment for all your immoral acts or deeds, right? So the punishment always comes as a subsequent, but because there is the potential imposition of a punishment, the concept of doing the right thing now, right? Same with like proper free market capitalism. Do the right thing now and you'll be greatly rewarded later. Do the wrong thing now, make the wrong decisions now, and you'll be punished later. But it's always later, right? It's not an authoritarian. It leaves you to have free will. right? Same if you go all the way back even to the Old Testament. Adam and Eve. If you take a bite of the apple is there, right? Corruption, immorality, it's there. And I'm not telling you you can't. I'm not going to use the authoritarian practice or measures or lock you into the confines that you can't reach that. I'd say, hey, I'm going to allow you to, hey, if you want to walk up that apple, go ahead. I'm going to leave you completely autonomous on your own free will, that if you want to choose to take that apple and eat that apple, then go right ahead. I won't stop you. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to suffer the consequences and effects of eating that apple, the forbidden apple. That's the great teachings of the Bible, of Christianity, is the mystical concept, but the being that a lot of people have chosen to forsake and no longer believe in, is basically telling you, just do the right thing and you're rewarded for such. If you do the wrong thing, I'm not even going to punish you in your life that you live now, but you will probably have to suffer, but you will suffer in the hereafter, right? When you're long said, dead and gone. So morality, it still has that carrot and stick approach, which human beings, unfortunately, hey, we are humans, we try to remove ourselves from nature, but we're always going to be part of nature, like it or not. But the carrot and stick approach from fallible human beings says that, well, they can use the carrot and stick anytime they want. And maybe that's another thing. Conceptually, humans can keep changing the rules, right? That's what laws, right? Regulations, legislation. It's like the rules are constantly changing all the time. Whereas God, the morality of God is actually much more mathematical, much more scientific in its approach. It's where it stays forever consistent, right? Do the right thing, you will reward for such. Do the wrong thing, you'll be punished subsequently after the fact. Governments are all about, hey, we can change the rules at any time. God would never put forth, right? God would never put forth the pretense of being able to change the rules halfway through the game. I mean, who could function in that kind of environment and be consistent morally when the rules are constantly changing or altering in this state of flux on a continual, ongoing basis? It would be almost impossible to, same with science, right? Think about it. How would science ever work? How would they ever put spaceships or in space or orbit in the moon or orbit in the planet if the things that they understood weren't completely and logically consistent continuously, and never change it, and no variables ever introduced that would change the premise or the base instructions and how you do that, right? You can't change it. Just like with mathematics. The minute someone tries to intervene or interject the concept that math, fuck about math in the 19th century when 2 plus 2 is 4. No, we're living in 21st century math where 2 plus 2 is 5, right? Some things, and conservatives respect that, that's the whole point of conservatism, right, is tradition. And some things that are traditional for a very good reason. Some things don't need to be changed. Some things you cannot progress away from. Reality, gravity is something that gravity was real, and the experiments would have worked out perfectly in the 16th century, and they'll work out the same in the 21st century. Mathematics, same thing. Go back centuries prior. 2 plus 2 is 4 centuries prior. 2 plus 2 is still 4 in the 21st century. Morality should be set and placed in that same test so that it's always and forever consistent. Morality is not subjective, and it should not be subjective. Now, because there's no way for human beings to create any scientific endeavor, well, so far as I know, and I've heard a lot of arguments and presentations put forth, offering all kind of rebuttals from all different sides of the political and philosophical or scientific states. But so far, the only ones that I see that are completely objective and 100% consistent in their approach are those that are willing to say, hey, some things cannot change. Some things you can't progress, right? Some things you can, and those things always seek out an endeavor to achieve that kind of success. Well, not all things, but the things that are beneficial to, even if it's just to your own self. as long as it doesn't hurt or hinder anyone else, hey, benefit, adopt, and adapt to whatever kind of situation or scenario you wish to. But when it comes to morality, that is not up to interpretation or open to subjugation or open to subjective opinions. Morality has to be universally consistent, right? If there's going to be morality. If you're going to reject morality completely, then don't pretend that you're on the right side of morality by putting forth government edicts or mandates. Just accept that it's war of words and go back to nature where it's just the most powerful, right? Gets to impose their ideas, their preferences, or ideology on the other. And if that's the kind of basis that you're really, or the concept that you're going for, then you will see where that failure will always reside, where that failure will always exist for the atheist in particular. Because atheists that don't believe in any concept of a hereafter or a life or a promise of something better if you sacrifice, right? Probably not going to work out, because the people that do believe, as you see the religious people, well, because of that belief and their faith in that concept, well, they're going to be the ones that are going to be willing to do what they have to do in the here and now to benefit their experiences in the hereafter. So, like I say, atheists, you can't win on scientific, you can't win on morality, and you can't even win as far as just getting to the finish line first. You can't do it. Every time you put forth and present some kind of counter narrative or argument or rebuttal to the Christian or God narrative instead of government, as far as where you get your morality from, where you're constantly proven by people like Jordan Peterson, Stephen Molyneux, and many others. Dennis Prager, loved the debate that he had. Dave Rubin just had him on with another gentleman. I can't remember his name right now, but I'll post it in the link of this video below. But yeah, like I say, when you hear the atheist argument and the religious argument that's presented by someone like Dennis Prager, Christian, or the Christian, or like Jordan Peterson, it's like, yeah, sorry, even though, yeah, we might not believe in the exact same God, but that conceptual belief in a higher authority, at least when that authority is completely removed from our objective reality, right? It's a much better pretense of an authority than those that are land-based, those that have real flesh and blood and have the capacity and the capability and the pretense of authority to cause hard hardships and hindrance to your freedoms and your liberties. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.